Okay. Okay, let's go. Three, two, one, go. Hello, and welcome to Bendy, a podcast about being flexible in all of the ways that means. Thanks for joining us. My name is Andy Young, and I'm one of your endeavoring, striving hosts. Joining me, as always, is our other endeavoring and striving host, Beth Martin. Beth, the pleasure as always. What's the crack?
Let's keep striving. I'm
I'm not.
excited for today's topic.
Is endeavoring a word? I'm. It is. It is. It is.
Yes.
Can you use it
Okay.
like that?
So
It's fine.
speaking of endeavoring,
Sure.
I finished probably 80 hours of Barbra Streisand.
Oh hell yeah! Good lord.
I did it. Audiobook, did
Uh-huh.
it.
Uh-huh.
Um, I really liked it, like for all of her, her career, her political ideas. Like at the end of the book, I'm like, how is she gonna like put this in a like wrap it in a bow and package it nicely? And basically she's like, you know, she's like, it's all about love. Let's work
Like
to,
it.
find the common areas where we can connect and, you know, it was nice messaging. She's just, I don't know, an impressive woman who still doesn't know what she's doing with her life, which I appreciate because she's
Yeah.
accomplished so much, yet she's like, and for what the future holds, like I have no idea. I just kind of want to like be happy and go where the wind blows and like be flexible enough to be blown in different directions. And, I don't know what's going to happen next. Which I
Uh,
appreciated.
yeah,
So,
absolutely. It's good coming from somebody who you would like when you think about like the successes that
mhm.
the most people would think of as success that she has had in her life to go, yeah, I don't know.
uh,
Uh the kind
I
of
don't know what I'm doing.
yeah,
Yay.
the kind of spoilery thing, and I want like that I've heard as I say a podcast I listened to has either read or listened to the book also, and they talked about like early on she talked about how the people that she slept with or that she'd rumor it was rumored to have slept with, and like she talked about how there was a rumor that she slept with Warren Beatty and she never did, but at the end of the book she comes back and she goes, actually, maybe I did sleep with Warren Beatty.
Yes, yes.
I
Yep.
love
Like
it.
maybe that did happen. I'm like, I like to have such a fantastic life that you can't remember if you slept with Warren Beatty or
I know.
not. That's awesome.
It
That's
really
that's
is.
cool.
It does kind
Yeah,
of
I can't
roll.
remember either,
And it's probably a healthy bit of nagging for Warren Beatty as well. He kind of needs that, I think. And like taken
I
down a peg
can,
or two.
right? He probably can't remember either. He's Warren
He probably
Beatty.
can't now.
Uh, and I'm heading out on vacation
Hell
in a
yeah.
few days.
Is it a
So,
few days?
we leave Tuesday.
Oh, hell yeah.
What's
Okay.
today? Wednesday, so less than a
Hmm.
week, six
Oh,
days.
nice. Wow. Okay, I love
Yeah, gotta
it.
pack.
Yeah,
What about
I
you?
so I went on my first hike in a long time, which was nice. I just
How are
ended
your
up
legs?
good. So my other piece of what's the crack is also related to my legs, but they're good actually. It wasn't a brutal hike, and because like it wasn't like non-stop, and it was broken up between a bit of sitting down and a bit of whatever, because we ended up going to so we hiked for people in this in Northern Ireland. We hiked from a place called Hildon to a park called Lady Dixon Park.
Mhm.
And Lady Dixon Park was having Rose Week, where they had a display of roses, like all these different kinds of roses. And it was lovely. So there was a whole sort of thing. Like they had stalls, they had like a little kind of stage set up where they were doing like Irish dancing. They had celebrities like Mario, Luigi, Sonic the Hedgehog,
Oh, wow.
Raphael. Weirdly,
Oh my
only
God.
Raphael from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I don't know what the
Probably doesn't get requested, or maybe he's the most requested.
I think he is the most requested probably. But that's a real slam to my boy Leonardo. So I was very upset about that. But it was nice. It was a nice setup, and it was just lovely to kind of be out again. And it was also the first time like I've had a Sunday that has been completely free. So it was nice to
Mhm.
kind of jump on that and just kind of enjoy the day. So yeah, that was good. But so the other reason why my legs were old pre-decimated, let's say, is that last week I started running again for the first time in a
Oh,
while.
wow.
Yeah,
Who's chasing you?
I don't know. So basically, I'll tell you what's chasing me. So basically, like about a week and a half ago, I went to a wedding. I think I talked about this, and like I looked like, some badly packed piece of meat. And I was like, okay, in this suit, I was like, okay,
You
I need to
didn't tell me
lose
this.
a little bit of weight here. I wasn't
Okay.
so bad, but it was like I was like, I'm not comfortable in this. I need
Yeah.
to lose a little bit around my middle. I saw a picture of myself afterwards, and it was like in the suit, and it was like it had like divorced dad at a like garden party sort of energy. I was like, okay, we need we need to do something about this. Um, so
Oh, Andy.
I know. So I was like, it's good because I built up. I did. I don't think I've talked about it on the show before, but I started running last year. I never really had because of my back. I have a bad back, and I was able to do this. We have this thing called Couch to 5K. I don't know if you
Mhm.
have something similar
I've
where it's
heard of
like
it.
a
We
it builds
do.
you up, it builds
We
you
have
up,
the
builds
same
you up.
thing.
So now
So you
that
do
I've done,
like it's like it's like running and then stopping and walking and then running and then stopping
yeah,
and walking and you
exactly.
like slowly build up to
Yeah.
running.
But
Okay.
because I've done it before and because like I feel like I'm still relatively healthy, I started with some 15-minute runs, which I did. I did two last week. I'm moving up 20-minute runs this week. I did one of them this morning. And I'm going to build up to at least half an hour and try to like do a couple of runs a week again. But like the first week of running, like your legs are just decimated, your quads, your calves are just like screaming at you. But like after the run today, don't feel too bad.
Good.
So I just kind of want to go from there. It was just kind of getting back out. It was just like, let's get this first one out of the way last week because I knew the first week in particular would be the roughest. So it was just like let's smash this out and see what happens.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I really hate running.
Yeah,
Like I will do anything except for squats to avoid
I
running.
hate squats. Yeah,
I hate squats. I hate them. People are like, love squats. And I'm like, you're an alien.
yeah,
Let's just talk about that.
exactly. You freak. You squat loving freak. You. Uh. So yeah. So like I think and it's something that could I'm thinking about. I'm like, I'm going on some trips. Do I need to like think about running when I'm on those trips? So I'm going to see what happens. I think I'm going to try to keep this habit up.
You're gonna need to
Um,
get up early when you come
I
here.
know to avoid the friggin' scorching heat.
Yeah. Well, it may not. So, end of September, it may not be as bad. That's
Yeah.
about when it starts cooling off, at least in the morning. But like tomorrow, it's going to be 101.
Yikes.
So, like that's
Yikes.
what 400 degrees Celsius.
Yeah. No, thank you. But yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
you just
been
get in the pool, have a
yeah, this is
cocktail.
I'll
It's
probably
not
just swim some
too
laps instead. It'll
terrible.
probably be the better option, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, so the other thing was, and I mentioned it to Beth briefly, actually, and it kind of ties into our last episode as well. I went to a film festival that my friend runs. So
Did
he's
you
been
get
running the
mates rates?
no, well, you know what? So there's something that actually related to that, and I was thinking about it because I went in, I knew what it was. I went in, I had money in my hand, and I went in, and my housemate was on the door, and I was like, "Here's my money," and he goes, "Oh no, Brian has put you on the list," and I'm like, "No, here, take money," and they're like, "No, you're on the list," and I'm like, "For fuck, oh, fine." So I kind of was unhappy about it, but I got in for free. Um, but it's essentially a film festival. He has done some sort of film production stuff, bit of writing, has made a few movies himself. And him and a group of other guys were like, there's a lot of people in Northern Ireland who are making short films, but there isn't really a platform for them. So why don't we have a yearly? I think it's actually multiple times a year. They have a film festival and they have
Where?
it's in Belfast, so it's in just like a bar style. Surprise, surprise, bar in Belfast, and they have like 12, 13 short films, basically, like a selection of documentaries, dramas, all sorts. And it was really nice because I have been meaning to go up to one for years, but it's never really worked out time wise. And it was good to finally get up to one. And just kind of see, the range of stuff that's there. And like I have to say, by and large, the production value was fantastic. It was really well done. Like it was nice to see. And talking to a few of the regulars who've been quite a bit, they were like saying it's like day and night compared to, 10 years ago or whatever, whenever they first started, the quality of stuff compared to now was staggering. Like some of it was so beautifully put together. Um, but yeah, it was very nice. And it was just, and what I was talking about in terms of our last episode was about horror, but there was an episode about a movie, sorry, I should say, about a guy who told his grandson all these like horror stories about banshees and things like that. And the stories about them going out to the woods, and this grandfather swears blind that the reason his father died was because he heard a banshee's wail one night, and everybody's like, no, your father drank himself to death, you can't come to grips with this and all this sort of thing. And it was maybe not horror strictly, but definitely horror adjacent. It was kind of had
Mm-hmm.
these kind of unsettling. They Beth in the last episode asked me if I would like sleep out in the forest by myself, and this grandfather and his grandson spent a night in the woods together, and stuff happens. It was very good.
So unrelated but related, we
Yeah.
watched the original Thor the other night,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, oh, like it's always it's bubblegum for your
Yeah.
brain. Like it's lovely to watch and it's fun because I love Norse mythology, but at the end it was like directed by Kenneth Branagh, and I was like, that's right. Like I
Yeah.
forgot that he directed the original.
It's nuts.
And then I was like, where's he
Yeah.
from?
I'm raising the roof.
Northern Ireland.
Hells yeah.
Belfast. And I remember, like, remember when you took me up to the like very, very top lookout, and you're like, there's Lorne and there's Carrickfergus
Yep.
and there's Belfast. Like you could see everything.
Yep.
And they're like, 15 or 20 minutes from each other. And it's just like, you should invite Kenneth Branagh to the film festival.
Yeah.
Or see if
We'll
you can have it
see.
at his house.
Yeah, I know. He doesn't live here. Come on. He like is from here, but he'll have moved out for sure. He's
I
maybe
know, but he's
got
not like when
a
you read his
house.
Wikipedia page, he's like, oh, I consider myself a Northern Irishman. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Damn
Like,
it.
because did you
Another
see?
one.
I still haven't seen it, but like, have you seen Belfast? The movie he made about Belfast. It was like a love letter to Belfast and his
No,
the town he grew up
no,
in. Okay, so
no.
like people lost
I'm
their mind
gonna.
about people lost their mind about. I haven't seen it, but
Okay.
people lost their mind about that shit. Um, but I think it really kind of put our capital on the map a little bit. Do you know what I mean? And it's only what, maybe 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, but yeah. So Kenneth Branagh, everyone.
Mhm.
Maybe you'd invite him and then to turn him away at the door. Be like, nah,
Oh, you're not on the list.
it's a power
And then
move,
you can be like, I'll pay for him because
Yes,
I have my cash.
yes, in my hand, £6. So yeah, so yeah, that was nice. And it was nice. It's just I don't know. Yet another thing. Good to get out of the house. Always nice to do different things. Always
Yes,
good to support my
yes,
friends, even if they wouldn't bloody let me. I tried,
you
but I
did
was
try.
there. I supported him in with my presence, I guess, right? Which is something.
You did.
Yeah, I
Well
did.
done, Andy.
Thank you. Thank you. If anybody wants to send me
Way to show
congratulations,
up.
yeah, right. If anybody wants to send me congratulations, please feel free.
Um, so I've got some current.
Yep.
Somebody wants to pass on information about pro wrestling, which we did an
Okay.
episode not too long. So they said, I'm going to read this. 99% of pro wrestlers you see on TV have some traditional, because we were talking about like how much crossover is there between like professional wrestling and amateur wrestling.
Yeah.
So yeah, so 99% of pro wrestlers you see on TV have some traditional wrestling skills. It's a basic, fundamental, essential in pro wrestling training. Back in the day, 1900s to 1980s, you literally needed to have some sort of shoot training.
Yep.
because it was common for some wrestlers and promoters to get into business for themselves. And most of them in this time were very accomplished shooters in high school and college. So if you got beat up for real in front of fans on TV, it would destroy your reputation forever and the company's reputation that you worked for. You would have been blackballed. Nowadays, it's used as an amazing way to obtain cardio levels, amazing way to stay fit while also being traditional.
Nice. I like it.
And I was like, what does shooting mean? What's a shoot? So I had to like Google that and
It's a
like,
style of wrestling, but I couldn't
yeah,
tell you much more beyond that. Like I know the shit
it's
style. I'm aware of it, but I don't think I could maybe verbalize what it was.
I from what I understand, and this person can correct me, but what I understand just based on my 30-second Google in
Yeah,
my Mind Palace garden,
sure.
um, it's basically like wrestling, like
Like real.
the four wrestling moves that like will pin somebody. That's the
Okay.
shoot or the shooting.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
Because
Yeah.
here it means something different.
Yeah, that's true. Um,
Ha!
it's one of those things that probably I do hear people talking about shit style, and I have friends who will probably listen to this will be angry that I don't know what shit style is.
She's like,
They will
you
let
said
me
you
know.
love wrestling.
And I thought you loved wrestling. I probably had more awareness of it back in the day, but I can't really verbalize it now at all. Um, yeah, I actually had a friend also related to that. Who thought that our because like yeah, I think I don't know if you recall, but the finishing move for our tag team that I suggested was that we hug somebody from either side, then one of us releases, and then we do a German suplex on them. So
Yep.
his suggestion was that instead of that, we do a double atomic drop. So an atomic drop is whenever you pick somebody up and bring their like crotch down on your knee. So essentially
Uh-huh.
we would do that, but both of us would get down, so we would bring their crotch down on both our knees. And the atomic drop is such a kind of heel move, like it's such an asshole move to do, but a
It's like a
double,
Hail Mary in American football.
yeah.
You're just like, all
So
right.
so I was like, okay, I like where you're coming from. Yeah, I'm going to
Uh,
consider it.
uh, uh, uh. Thank you for the feedback.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I don't have any current stuff, so
Okay.
shall we maybe try to get into our topic for this
Hmm.
episode? So I think we settled on try new bad ideas, right, as our name for this, didn't
Try
we?
new bad ideas.
Yeah, try new bad
Like
ideas.
yeah. We came up with this a couple of episodes ago because we just started like throwing bad ideas that we've had that failed
Yep,
miserably at each other. And I was like, oh, this could be its own
absolutely.
topic. So
Uh,
I want to
yeah.
know all the bad decisions you've made and followed through or
Uh,
not
yeah.
in some capacity.
I yeah. I wonder if there is any. So I suppose a good way to start, and often as we do start, is like thinking about your history with this, but thinking about if there's any stuff that you have maybe approached when you were younger that
Mm.
occurred to you maybe initially, like bad ideas, things that kind of didn't go anywhere, and just kind of build from there.
I have a lot. I
I
have a
love it.
lot. I also like as part of this, well, no, yeah, I guess like I bought a Harley Davidson golf cart. It
Amazing. I love it.
was a really bad idea.
I Yeah, that's okay. I have questions. Actually, before we get into it, I don't know whether I was just thinking about this. Have we explained the concept of this episode?
No.
Okay, so
So
it's
yeah.
just things that we have started and maybe new hobbies or new activities that we have thought about taking up that have really kind of went nowhere.
Or
Um,
like you went too far and then it
yes.
was like, yeah, you followed it to fruition.
And then you're like, oh, I hate
Uh
this. But like,
yeah.
and I think this is very kind of on theme for us that it's important to try these things because if you don't try things, you don't know what you like or what you don't like. So it's good to try new things, even if they are bad. So okay, right. Now that we've explained this, everybody's up to speed, right? Tell me more about your Harley Davidson golf.
So this
Hard.
was 2007,
Uh-huh.
like right around the time Mike and I, no, 2008, started dating.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted my own Burning Man art car.
Uh-huh.
And but I didn't want to like buy an actual vehicle and like have to work on that's the whole, like working on a golf cart is much easier than working on a car. So I found one for like 500, no, it's probably like $700. And like you assume Harley Davidson quality, Harley Davidson golf carts, not as now I know, do not associate those two things together at all, at all, at all, at all.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to like work on it, you had to pull the whole top off of it. So
Mm-hmm.
anything you, because like basically with Burning Man, you build, they're called mutant vehicles, where you like decorate it and you put all this stuff on it. So we had all this like rattan furniture
Mm-hmm.
and like undercar lighting and like Christmas lights and pillows. And but we had to like haul the whole thing, all of that off in order to work on the engine. And just like working on the engine, like Mike, I remember it was always breaking. Um, he got so mad at it one time, uh, because he forgot the key at my house, but he was so fucking frustrated. He literally like with it because it wasn't running right, and like the gas wasn't flowing through the what's the thing that the gas
Oh
goes through,
no, you're
the
asking
gas
me.
filter, sorry.
Uh-huh.
And it was just like sputtering and like blowing smoke, and he like was so fucking pissed he grabbed the ignition
Mm-hmm.
switch and ripped the whole thing out. And I was like, I could have just run home and gotten the key. It would have been a 20-minute drive. And he was like, I'm too angry. Like, I need to walk away. So then we ended up with like like, like you have those little like switches that you toggle,
Yeah.
like a little,
To
so
switch it
that's
on,
what,
to switch ignition on, no.
that was the on switch.
It's
And it
okay.
was like this whole thing. We had it for 2 years. And then he was just like, I can't even deal with this anymore. Cause all we did for all of Burning Man was work on the fucking golf
Oh,
cart
fuck
and
that
try and
noise.
get it fixed. Right.
Yeah.
And then, so yeah, then we ended up taking it all apart and selling it for like less than we bought it for. And anytime I say Harley Davidson golf cart just for funsies, he's just like, God damn it. That fucking like goes there. He goes there right away.
Just brings them to that
So
place.
yeah,
Love it.
that was a mistake that
That's
I
a
made.
cracking one. I
And
love
that
it.
about I went all the like I followed that bad idea through to
Yeah.
fruition
But this is the
and
thing, and then
beyond.
and you're like, yeah, I think, and it's one of the things I always, in terms of like life events generally, it's hard to be told something. You kind of have to experience it because like you just won't, it just won't sink in. Otherwise, you'll be like, oh,
Yeah.
that's where you're coming from. It's going to be different for me,
I
and
have to
sometimes
learn
it
my
is.
lessons. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've realized that I have to learn my lessons, but I'm really okay at seeing other people's bad ideas and knowing it's a bad idea
Yeah.
and being like, don't follow that through. But not so much with myself. And maybe that's the case with everyone. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was a younger days bad idea. What about you?
So I think I've always like, and I have a couple of different experiences with this, is I've always kind of circled thinking, do I want to do martial arts of some kind, right? So I know, right? Knowing me,
I think this is my favorite topic.
how ludicrous a thing that is for me. And because I don't like competitive stuff, I don't
No, I
particularly
do
like
like hurting other
I don't like
people.
hurting other people. I don't like particularly touching other people in violent ways. I don't like being
No.
thrown into the ground in a hard way. None of those things, none of that stuff is anything I like. Um, so like I did judo in university for a handful of years. I I don't think I ever got around to actually going to it, but I did like I was going to go to a kickboxing class at one point in Belfast. I don't think I ever followed through with it, but I thank God because that would have been the worst one. Um,
Okay.
and probably, and like the judo thing, I think I did a handful of classes, and I think judo was the one that was most appealing to me because it was essentially throws and holds and stuff. You didn't actually you weren't punching somebody quite as much. It was the most appealing one to me, and even that didn't really shape out. But I did. So like maybe what, 5, 6 years ago, uh, uh, I was in a situation where I had a lot of time in my hands. I needed some distraction. It's also when I took up improv, which I'll talk about later. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do an improv class one night. I'm going to do jiu-jitsu another night. And it was fine. I did it for a month maybe, but I really didn't like, they really put a lot of pressure on you to like sign up for like, you know, a 6 month pass, whatever. And I'm
Yep.
like, I really don't like this. I don't like this pressure. I was like, I'm not minding it, but I'm not loving it either. So I was like, you know what, that's me. And kind of walked away from it. Then 2 years later, I think I and people shout at me for this because I'm not terrible with money, but I just don't really watch it as closely as a lot of other
They
people
were
do.
still charging you?
Yes. So essentially what happened was I was away for so they didn't charge. This is the thing. This is what was really weird about it. It must have been like 6 months after I left, and they started charging me monthly about £60. So what about $80, $90?
Oh my
And
gosh.
the reason why I didn't notice it was very similar to a payment that was made to my yoga studio. It was it's similar. They used a similar payment system, so I just didn't. I'd seen it occasionally, and I was just like, oh, that's just the yoga payment. And the only time I noticed was whenever they changed payment systems, and I was like, hold on a minute here, what's that? Why is that? What is that now? And I went and I noticed that my yoga was coming out separately, and I was like, hold on, what's going on here? And they had just started charging me 6 months after the effect, which is like I could kind of understand as a mistake if I was charged immediately after the time I was there, but 6 months later feels especially fucked. And what really pissed me off about it more than anything was that like when I first started talking about it, they were just like, well, you just have to be more careful with your money. And and everyone I spoke to in the banks and stuff like that, they were like, you have to watch this sort of stuff. And I'm like, fuck you. But until I finally got through to the department that handles that stuff, and they were like, oh, what the fuck? They were like, this is messed up. We're giving you a refund for this immediately, and we're going to track this money down ourselves. And I'm like, oh, thank God, you understand. And you get it. You know this is probably bordering on fraud because like there was no like agreement for this. It happened well after the time that I was with them. And they immediately gave me a refund, which was fantastic, So that was heartening. But yeah, so that's in terms of my appetite for like trying martial arts again, that's probably the end of that story for me.
Yeah, I never got into like I always love the idea of like moving forward in like some sort of belt ceremony and being like, oh yeah, I'm a,
Yeah,
you know, gray belt. That doesn't exist. Black belt, brown belt, black belt.
yeah,
But I don't actually want to do the work
no. Well,
at all.
it's more like, I think if I'm going to do work, I want it to be in something else. I want it to be in something, I guess,
You like,
creative or
yeah,
not not learning how to hurt people better, really,
right.
it's not my jam.
So, what do you think leads you to make those kinds of decisions? I don't want to say bad decisions, but I'm going to say bad decisions because that's our topic.
Um,
I'm sweeping generalization.
like, boredom, certainly, and also
Mm,
like a distraction. I mean, like my life is, you know, I freaking love distractions, like I love boondoggles and things that will not keep me. I used to think they would keep me avoiding stuff, but they do kind of keep me present and engaged in a way that I really kind
mhm,
of like and is really helpful for me, I think,
mhm,
I
mhm.
think if anything, it helps me focus up in the rest of my life. So, and I love learning new skills as well. Like I really do. And I also, I'm not afraid to make a fool out of myself really either. Do you know what I mean? Like if I
Yeah,
think we've talked about it before about that, about like, I think making a fool out of yourself is learning essentially, a lot of the time, and that's fine,
absolutely. Yeah.
So I think that's the case for me. What about you?
I think part of it's boredom. I think part of it too, it's like I get really, really, really obsessed with stuff.
Hmm.
Like if I find a topic
Yeah.
where I'm like, I'm really into this right now, then I will like throw everything I have into it and
Yes.
like learn as much as I possibly can, do as much as I possibly like I just like I like and it's not like I'm um dabbling. I don't dabble, I dive.
Yeah. 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 I hear you.
And sometimes it totally works out for me, and other times it's like, wow, you should have thought that through a little better and not gone on a mania tear, you know?
Yeah.
So I would say like it works out in my favor to have these like obsessive manias more often than not, but when it
Yeah.
doesn't, it really can become something bad,
Yeah. I totally
of
understand.
which I'll give you some examples.
I think, yeah, I think, obviously it can get you into bad situations sometimes that follow that instinct, but I think by and large it is better way to approach life.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but yeah. Do you have any other ones in particular you're thinking of there?
I do. And this one is a hard one for me to even talk about.
Uh-huh.
But so I had when I was really sick with long COVID, I
Mm-hmm.
ended up in Mexico. I've told the story, getting stem cell IVs, and I'm not going to go into stem cells,
Yep.
but they did save my life
Yep.
after much trial and error. And so, like the first time I went, I got, I think it was like 25 million, which sounds like a lot, but it's not, um, for my first treatment. And I was like, holy crap, like that day or the next day I got up and I actually like walked down to the lake and was able like I got out of bed and walked to the lake. And
Yeah.
it was 2 blocks, but for me, like I was bedridden, like I needed assistance in the airport, like I wasn't mobile. So that was huge. And like it's like my brain started working again, not like right away, but I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God. And so, and I'm not going to go into details of names because I don't want to get sued, but basically, the people that I learned about my doctor from, I was like, you guys need to like basically build a business and get other people here,
Mm-hmm.
and you could be like a concierge service. And I built their website, and I was like, don't be mad, but I might have built like last night, I
Mm-hmm.
was so crazy about this. Like it worked so well that I built you a website. I hadn't even left Mexico yet. Like I was like, I think this was before my second treatment, but I was like, everyone needs to know about this. And so I ended up developing a friendship with these people, and I was still working with a doctor that was like certified in all the things, and they were bringing people, and I thought it was like the best thing ever, and I was like helping the world. Um, but then their behavior started to get kind of shady, and they were doing illicit things that they shouldn't have been doing, and like managing patients in ways that they shouldn't have been managing patients,
Mm-hmm.
and treating patients when they should not have been treating patients. And then they fired my doctor. This is after like, I don't know, a year. And so, and they fired my doctor in in a not a nice way, but I was still connected to their, and by that time I like they had offered me the CEO position of this company that I was like, you should build and I'll help support, and I don't need payment, just volunteer. And they were like, why don't you be the CEO, and this can be like an international thing. And I was like, I'm way too sick for this.
Yeah.
And I like that's a lot of responsibility, but like that's where we were.
Yes.
Have I told you this?
I know a good chunk of the story, yeah,
Okay,
because we were
okay.
in touch. We were Marco Poloing quite a bit at
Yeah,
that
we
time.
totally
Yeah.
were. And I was like, yeah, so I think I told you like I'm telling them like I'm out,
Hmm.
and like I don't I can't help support. I need to heal. And it was like that was hard to do, but at the time it was right. You know, I was still seeing them, and I stayed at their house a few times. One of our mutual friends went down there with me and visited. I
Yeah.
tried to take my mom down there to like it was like a whole thing, and they felt like family. And then they fired my doctor, and then I had to make a choice, like do I go stay with my doctor or do I see what, like, they didn't even tell me, you know, what had happened, and that felt wrong. And then all these other like little things that I noticed like started to feel really wrong. And so I cut off communication. And I asked them to take all of my like testimonials down and any
Hmm.
information down. But I was still getting all these emails and like Facebook questions from other clients of theirs who had had issues and were having issues. They were overdosing them on medications, and people were having like real world, real body issues. And like it was so bad, Andy, I had to delete my entire Facebook page,
Yeah, I
like
remember.
profile,
Mhm.
because I didn't want to be associated. I didn't want to be like constantly getting emails and having to be
Yeah.
like, I wouldn't go with them. I would, you need to find a certified doctor. Um, and I was, so yeah, so that happened. So basically, and I looked on their website the other day, and they're bigger, they're in more towns, and I'm just like, oh man. And I was on Reddit, and I occasionally just like search for them, and it's like all these other people that are like, you guys are frauds, like you're taking people's money and not treating them, and it's like this whole awful thing. And I
Okay,
feel
wow.
so much guilt and so much remorse for
But
being part of this.
sure, but like, I mean, how could you know? Do you know what I mean at the time? And also because also like you're living in
I
the
was
group.
also so sick that I was
Yeah.
not making proper
Yes.
decisions in
And
general.
I
So
remember chatting to you at the time and the difference, even seeing the difference it made in you after that first treatment as well. So like it's hard in the light of that to not be like, wow, this is
yeah.
incredible, to not be like carried away by it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
was like, this could save so many
Yeah,
lives, you know. And at that point, there was no treatment for what we had.
yeah, true.
So that's a super fucked up thing that happened that I've really took. And it wasn't even like no one asked me to do any of those things. I was just like, this is what needs to happen. And I feel like I built a monster.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, but like
so
again,
that's
yeah,
still alive.
it's true. But like
Yeah.
you weren't to know. And like honestly, I would say that they probably would have got to a similar place themselves anyway, by the
Yeah,
sounds of
they would
things,
have.
considering where they are now, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, no, that's a good one. Well, not a good one, but you know, a
Yeah.
pertinent one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
How
so
about you?
um, you know, I have some that so I guess the thing that I should talk about and the thing that I want to talk about is like trying to play a musical instrument. And
Yeah.
that
Oh,
has been
I got some of those.
it's been the boondoggle of my life. Like, but the thing is, I keep going back to guitar, and even people I know who play guitar say, "Don't try to learn to play guitar. It's a fucking nightmare. It's a very hard
Start
instrument
on
to
the
learn."
ukulele.
Yeah, and this is the thing. It's like there is actually a ukulele group that meets in Carrickfergus that I've been wanting to go to for ages, but unfortunately, it's the same night as the choir. So, in the short term, that's not going to happen. But I feel like that is my way in. I also really kind of want. I feel like there's also a bit of a like a percussive instrument that's speaking to me a little bit. Like um I really like kind of hand pans and like I've always loved the sound of steel drums. I don't think I
Same.
would actually get steel drums. That's the whole thing. But there are like small sort of versions of steel drums that you can get that are like it can be. I'm told are also relative certainly, but like relatively easy to learn in the grand scheme of things. You know, so I think that's something I may investigate in the future because I just I love music. I love singing. Singing is one of the things that I wrote down here, but I feel like that has not been a boondoggle. That's something that has been good
I
for
think it
me and I've
gives more than
continued
it
with.
takes.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, that's true. Um, but like so yeah, very much good. So, guitar I've tried in my teenage years. I tried and probably in my 20s again. I have tried recently over lockdown. I bought a guitar and I was doing like daily lessons, but it's so hard. It's so hard. And like I was also trying to do other lots of other shit as well. And I was also kind of going through a bit of a like mental health crisis at the time as well. So it maybe wasn't the most ideal time to be trying something like that, you know. But it is the thing that more than anything else in my life that I want to learn is an instrument. I would love to just be connected to music more. I think I love the idea more than anything of like the idea of like jamming with some people, like just being in a room and just playing instrument together sounds wonderful and something that I want to experience at some point, you know.
Yeah. After reading Dave Grohl's autobiography, like it just the doors that it opens if you're able to,
Yeah.
like he's done some amazing stuff just because he could play the not just, but because he could play the drums
Hmm.
well. They're just
True.
like, do you want to Tom Petty wants to know if you want to play with him on SNL. And he's
Cool.
like, okay,
Yeah. No
right?
problems. Yeah. That's awesome.
So, but like on a smaller scale, just like even, like the festivals that you go to,
Yeah.
like have you ever done a drum circle?
I haven't. I know I have, but not on a smaller scale. It was kind of like
Hmm.
a sample, but I would love to that, you know, that's a good point because that's similar. I really should do a proper one. I really kind of want to go to like a kirtan, you know, that and oftentimes they have drum circles and stuff like that more than anything. It's something that I've been circling for a while now, so I will get to one eventually.
Yeah, highly recommend.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't think that like, I don't know, in terms of like bad ideas, I don't think it's ever a bad idea to like pick away at a musical
It's
instrument
true.
and be like, that's not quite for me. And
Yeah.
I can play piano by ear.
Nice.
Just takes a while, right, to pick the notes out and then remember them. I can play the flute by ear, I can play the piano by ear.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But much to my piano teachers and my flute teachers' chagrin. They're like, you can't read music, and I'm like, I really can't. I tried for like 7 to 9 years, and
Oh,
it's just not working for
it's
me.
a nightmare. Like it really is. It's so tough. That's a good one.
But I commend you for that.
Yeah, thank you. What what are you? You got another one?
I don't know if I should talk PhD cult or parrot
Hmm.
fostering. Which do you want to hear about? You know both of these,
I
but which do
do.
you think?
Let's go PhD cult, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
good
So I
one.
had this idea because I was super into yoga and I'd gotten my 500-hour
Hmm.
certification. And I was like, I think I want to like, I don't know why I was like, this is the mania. I was like, I'm going all the way. I'm going to learn how to speak and write Sanskrit. And to, I want to get my doctorate.
Yeah, I
This is
remember.
what I want to do.
Hmm.
And this is like, I don't know. I think I was needing something in my life other than doctor's appointments. And I wanted to use my brain and like exercise it in some
Yeah.
way. And I was like, and they had it, there's a college that I'm not gonna name because I'll probably get sued. This is a theme for me, Andy. This is horrible.
I
Or this is just like America
was
the
gonna say it's this
worst.
litigious
Yeah,
country that you live in. Yeah.
totally. But like, so I found this program, it was online and I'd had a yogic studies PhD program. And I was like, this is fucking perfect. And I did a term. I think I took 3 classes, 4 classes, 3 classes. So
Hmm.
it was like intense. It was a lot, like at that level, it was a lot. And it was going to be, I think, a 3 or 4 year experience. And as I was going through the classes, like things just got weird. And it's like in America, you have to have certification and there's like governing boards and bodies that make sure that like you're accredited. So I would have gotten my yogic studies and I would have gotten my master's in counseling at the same time. And I was like, that way I can go in all directions, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, things got weird. And like the things we were talking about, it was kind of like yoga school
Hmm.
where it was like bare your
Hmm.
soul. But I was like, but this is education. And like, I shouldn't be talking to other students or professors about, like, they shouldn't be forcing me to talk about these things. Um, and then other students were kind of like, this is weird. And anytime they would bring that up, like the administration, the president of a college was like demanding that you have a meeting with them, and then they were like telling you how you should behave in school. And then like how they're the way they structured it was like, life of the mind, and this is how you're supposed to be learning, and everyone else is wrong kind of thing.
Oh,
And then I found a website that was basically like all of these students that had dropped out and all of the harassment that they had been going through, and the school would literally like monitor your social media accounts
it's so
and then like
anti-yogi.
throw that, I know, totally, and throw that back in your face and be like, well, you said this or you did this and that's not right, and like you're living your life in this way and that's not. It was so weird, it was so weird. And so I ended up dropping out,
Mhm.
and they tried to have, I had like four different people, the president, the vice president, and then two of my instructors reach out to me to try and have a meeting to see like what was going on with me, that and I was just like, I'm not even getting involved. And then there was like a side thing happening where this website was like trying to get students to not file a lawsuit, but basically like try and get them shut down. And I told my story, and then the website got sued by the school and had to shut down. So
Why?
so that was like a $10,000 mistake.
And is would they were they based in the US? We can keep
Yeah,
it in
they're based in
vagaries.
California.
California, okay.
Yeah.
I that's so sad. In a way, like it truly is. Like I there's so much there's so much grifting that goes on, but like I mean, like I remember I was talking about it at the time as well, and I feel um like you were seeing it pretty early on. I feel like I was hearing it live, like as you're like, well, this is odd.
This is weird, Andy.
Yeah, what's
Is this
happening?
normal?
Yeah. Ah, it's so sad to
Am I
me.
crazy?
And
I
like
know.
to me, what really sucks about that more than anything is that they're essentially a bunch of grifters, and they're going to put people off a subject that could bring a lot of good into their lives,
They're
and that
using, yeah,
sucks.
it's like they're using something as wonderful as yoga and
Hmm.
like mental health
Yeah,
against, they're weaponizing it.
so awful, truly
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, but don't like
So,
it. Don't like it.
so yeah.
Um,
What about
so
you?
I'm not, most of my stuff, like a lot of my other stuff is like very short term stuff, like I've written other things here and I'm like, yeah, I kind of did some stuff with that. Like, I've circled writing for many years. So I've done like a screenwriting
Mm,
class. I've done like
mhm.
creative writing classes. I really didn't like the teacher in the creative writing class. And
That totally matters.
it really does.
Mhm.
And like the poetry class. But I think that, writing is something I always do get back to eventually, and I think that it's all that stuff that I did was kind of foundational towards that. The one thing, and I really only I didn't buy any equipment or anything like that, but the one thing that would surprise I think a lot of people is that I tried got to play golf for a while. And
Uh,
I think the reason I did that was because my dad was such a big golfer for many a year, and I was like, well, there's probably something to that. So is my uncle. Like so many men in this country are into golf. I think it's pretty true of the US as well.
yeah.
And but I just couldn't get on with it. I just didn't like. I like you know a crazy golf. That's good fun. But like
Yeah.
beyond that, I just have
Like putt
no
putt.
appetite. Yeah, I like. I remember like trying at a driving range a couple of times, and this is what really kind of put me off. And I just like found it, and it's maybe just because of my swing or whatever. Like my forearms and my arms were like so sore afterwards, and I was just like, I don't care enough about this that I want to like feel sore after doing it.
Right.
So
It's
yeah,
very un-Scottish of you, Andy.
isn't that right? I know, or
Yeah.
Irish for that matter. It's a very kind of it's a national pastime in both these countries. Um,
It is here too, but it's more like if you're a man in business, you play golf.
yeah, because
And
it's
that's where
about
business
networking and stuff
happens
like
on
that.
the,
Yeah,
yeah, on the golf
that's
course.
yeah, it's kind of insidious. The other one, like I feel like I got something out of this, but I thought I would pursue it more. Was that I did woodworking for a term. So I did about 12 weeks of woodworking and I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
I made a table, which was nice.
Did it
Yeah,
stand?
it does. It's still standing.
Have
I
I
should have
seen
showed it
it?
to you. You have seen it. It's, you know, the
Okay.
table that has my Jabba the Hutt Lego on
I
it?
was gonna say, is it the table with
Yeah.
Legos on it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was
That's a
pretty,
nice table.
that is a nice table. And I was pretty pleased with it. And I'm like, I don't think I had as much of an aptitude as some other people that did it, but I quite enjoyed it. And I think that had I had, because I think woodworking is a all-consuming sort of skill. I think if you're going to do it, that's what your hobby is. And I have too many other things that I enjoy doing. But I think it's something that, as when I retire, it's something I might like, circle back to, because it was quite rewarding putting something together and seeing it, seeing how it looked and like seeing it, and seeing it being functional was really kind of quite satisfying.
Mm.
But yeah, that was a good one.
That's good. That I'm realizing that you really don't make bad decisions, Andy.
Like I
I'm
think
looking at my list and I'm like, oh my God, Beth.
I I think I do, but like I think that I think I lose patience for them more quickly than you do. I think you maybe stick through with them for better or for worse than I
Hmm.
do. Whereas like I think I'll quite quickly go, this is not for me, and just kind of walk away from it. Like I had a conversation with a good friend the other day about my aptitude for like the Irish goodbye, like whereas I just will
Yeah.
like leave.
Yeah.
I'll just be like, I'm done. Bye. Or not even bye, just be like, fade into the background, like Homer, like friggin' retreating into some
Yep.
bushes.
Yep. And then you like find a door to get out and get to your
Yeah,
car and you're like, yeah,
I'm out of here. See you around,
I did
suckers.
it.
Yeah. But yeah, I definitely make bad decisions. Don't worry about that. It's mostly in relationships I make my bad decisions, but anyway. Uh,
Yeah. I mean, mine are like sometimes illicit, right? But those are
sure.
like younger
Yeah.
bad decisions where I'm like, that was probably dangerous or whatever.
Yeah.
But okay, I've got one more that's pretty short.
Yeah.
So I was as I was feeling better, this is another Mexico story, but as I was feeling better, I was going down to get treatment once a month for about a week, and I started like renting my own car and then like getting my own Airbnb and cooking my own food because I was feeling better. And I just wanted to like, I was like, okay, if I'm going to be here for a week of the month, like I want to explore and see things and kind of see what's around because it's a really cool area. Um, and so for some reason, I went with like the cheapest rental car. And normally, like you go to the airport, you pick up your car there. This time, the guy picked me up out front and was like, we're going off site. And I was like, okay. And then, like, it's never a good idea to get into a random stranger's car and drive
Sure.
away, right? And I did that,
Hmm.
literally. Got in the car and we were driving the opposite direction of where I needed
Hmm.
to go. And I'm like, I started to get that feeling of like, okay, like, is this kidnapping?
Yeah.
Is this, I don't want to like generalize, but like, is this cartel related? Like,
Sure.
a woman on her own, very sick, trying to just, I'm a girl all
Sure.
alone, trying to find a rental car.
Hmm.
But, so yeah, and it was about a 15-minute drive of me like heart palpitations and like got my cell phone and then like we pull into this like newer building like it doesn't even have windows on it yet and then they give me this like shit beater car and I was like, oh, okay, I'm here, this worked out, like don't tell Mike this ever happened. um and like drove it around all week, was fine, and then I couldn't find, like, it was on this weird, like, it's literally on the freeway,
Right.
and I couldn't find the location because all of these little stores and like storefronts are so close together. So I like thought I found the place and like drove in and I found this lady and I'm like, I'm looking for this address. And she's like, oh no, it's back the way you came. And I was like, okay. And she's like, don't even get back on the freeway. Just drive on like the shoulder in the
Yeah.
opposite direction of traffic coming your way on the freeway. And I was like, okay. So I proceed to do that, driving like, and it was farther than I thought it would be. It was, Andy, I'm so stupid. Like I could have
That's
died twice.
sketchy. Yeah.
Sketchy, found the place, but it was just like, I'm driving around telephone poles and like trying to wait for traffic to like give a little so I could like make my way. It was so bad. And there's like the shoulder in Mexico is different than the shoulder here, right?
Yeah.
It's like there's holes, there's rocks, there's tires, there's, there it was like being in a video game,
I
kind
love
of,
it.
just
Love it.
with my
Love it.
life. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, I have,
Mm.
and another generalization that I don't want to make necessarily, but like I have found that like in a lot of countries that I have spent time in, that we are relatively safe drivers, I would say, both in the US and the UK. And people will laugh at that because they see people driving ridiculously, but like in like South America, in Korea, in Taiwan, like some of the shit that people will do is fucking wild compared to
Yeah.
people that would not consider it over here. Like it's just like, and I've seen people miss their turning on a freeway, stop dead, reverse, and go back, and like stuff like that. And I used to see things like that or adjacent to that all the time, and I was like, that's fucking crazy. Like, and people aren't great over here, but you do not see that sort of behavior.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Here, like, I would say the one thing you'll see, and you probably saw it when you were in LA, but motorcycles are allowed to go between cars
yes,
and
I
like
think
they're allowed to ride the line. And
that's nuts to
and then
me.
yeah, they're not allowed to, but they pass into oncoming traffic. I was just driving yesterday and like in some of the hills that I'll show you, by the orange orchards, and
Uh-huh.
like I got passed by three motorcycles and like every one of them I'm like, you're gonna die, like around these like giant curves and
Yeah,
turns you would not have been able to see if anybody's coming, and I was just like, this is a bad idea, don't do it.
so sketchy.
So yeah, anyways.
Love it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's
here's to
feels it.
making more bad decisions in the
Huzzah, here's the
future.
bad decisions. I mean,
Ah,
you know what I mean? They're a learning thing.
they are a
Oh,
learning thing, Andy.
I can't
Your
believe
brains,
I can't believe
you said that out loud.
I searched for a word and came up with thing.
Thing.
Experience. Damn it, there we go. Learning experience. I got there in the end. Okay. So yeah, I think that's a good way to wrap things up on that topic. Folks, if you've got any wonderful bad idea stories, we would absolutely love to
Yes.
hear them.
If you tell me them, I'll probably do them. So
Probably will. So like send them to me maybe instead, okay?
Andy can
Just,
edit.
just to be on the safe side. Um, so yeah, that was fun. Uh, so that brings us to our favorite part of every episode, as always. What's been bringing you joy this week?
We had a neighborhood foam party.
Oh yeah, you talked about that being a possibility.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So it actually happened, and we got a foam cannon. So I've like, I think I've been to a foam party maybe in
Sure.
college. But this was like in a street, and like this is, it's
What?
been, I'm not gonna say how many years. I don't know, 30
Uh-huh.
more, whatever, 20 something. So technology's changed, bubble machines have changed,
Hmm.
foam quality and color has changed.
Okay.
So this lady shows up with like, it's not that big. It's like maybe like 2 feet, a foot and a half,
Hmm.
and like a giant like container with these crystals that she would pour in. And it got probably like 6 feet high. And there's like all these children and adults, like everyone's just like throwing foam on each other.
Is there like a container to hold it in, or does it just
No,
stay in one
I'll send
place?
you pictures. It
Yeah,
was
please
just like
do.
a giant pile of foam.
How interesting.
And then she added color, so it would turn like red, and the kids all turned red, we all turned red, and like all the kids were like running up, like, can I hug you? And I was like, hell yeah. So I was like covered in like yellow and red paint or whatever.
I love
It
it.
all washed out.
Yeah.
It was super fun. I loved it.
Okay,
Highly recommend
is
throwing
not
some foam in the
something
street.
that's not something that happens over here at all, really.
Mhm.
Sadly.
Yeah, yeah.
I it has in an odd way reminded me. Did I ever tell you about the mud festival I went to?
No.
So like I went to a mud festival in Korea. So like, there's a lot of mythology in Korea about like certain things being, more worthwhile than others. So there's an area in Korea that's prized for the quality of the mud, and it's like benefits for the skin and things like that. So they have a full festival to celebrate this, and like
The mud?
basically to mud, yeah. And like there's like colored mud, and you can like put colored mud in your body and all this sort of stuff. But there's also kind of like pits with like do you know the sort of gladiator things where they're like there's
Yes.
like American Gladiators you had, so like where there's like two sort of foam pedestals and you both have like these foam things and you kind of knock each other
Yep.
off with like big
Yep.
pits of mud and stuff like that. There was just basically this shorefront with all that sort of stuff happening up at like just various mud themed events. It was really good fun.
Did
It's a
you
nice
play
memory.
any of this? Did you like
Absolutely,
cover
all of
yourself in
them. Yeah,
mud?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good. I
I
mean, you went
think
all in. That's what you do.
I think I have photos of that somewhere. I'll see if I can find that. But that was a really fun. Just a memory that popped up there. Not foam related, but also it was the colors that really made me think of it. Um, but yes. What's been bringing me joy is yeah. So I think it's a sappy one was Friends generally. I think I had
Not the
talked.
show, the people.
No, the show.
Oh,
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. No, it's the
okay.
people. It's the
Okay. I was
people.
like, really?
Uh,
Do you
I
see
have
me
a fun.
looking at you quizzically? Like, really?
Yeah, no. So it's just I think that like I've been talking to Beth and about this before this we started recording, and like I've been up and down a little bit at the minute, but it's always good to spend time with people. It really is such a lift to me. Just talking. I don't always want to talk about what I'm going through necessarily, but I just want to like talk and be in their presence, and it's such a lift for me, honestly, and is a perennial sort of lifesaver, truly,
Yeah.
So yeah, so just
And
I
I
just
think,
share out to friends and friendship.
yeah, you're figuring it out though,
Yeah,
like what your not triggers, but kind of, right?
yeah,
Like what your like we figured the weed out
sure,
and like, you know, you've been really focused on dog sitting and like
yeah,
haven't been able to hang out with people and
yeah.
like
That's been
you
rough.
texted me the other day and you're like, I'm not doing well. And I was like, I wonder if that's to do with dog sitting.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I don't know. I just think again, it's just more like information
It's
that
true.
you're
It is,
getting.
and it's
And
all useful. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, no,
and I'm
it
proud of you
definitely
for
is.
noticing it. So
Thank you. No,
good
it's
job.
a constant journey.
And thank you to the people in the world that choose to be Andy's friend.
Yeah, thank you. Don't get too big-headed about it, all right? But thank you
Right.
nonetheless. Uh, the talking about friends, the show has reminded me of a story I saw I think it was a clip from a magazine article where Paul Rudd was being interviewed, and like it was the very end of Friends, the TV show, and like the core six cast were all like laughing and hugging each other and like this big circle, all six of them hugging, and Paul Rudd just walks into the pile and goes, "What a ride, eh, guys?" And I'm like, and they all like looked at him angrily, and I'm like, amazing. I love you, Paul Rudd. Uh,
He's a national
he
treasure. He's an
is.
international
He
treasure. Yeah,
is. So true. He's the king. So yeah.
he is.
All right, folks. I think that's time to wrap things up. Beth, could you let everybody know where they can find
Yes,
us?
please find us at bendypodcast.com. And buy our merch
Mm-hmm.
and send us some feedback. If you want
Mm-hmm.
any advice on anything, you can just send us an email at support@bendypodcast.com. We are here
Awesome.
for you.
We are indeed. Thank you so much, folks, as always. And as always, we'd like to remind you to stay
Stay
bendy.
bendy.
I don't know why, but that stay really made me laugh. That time it was hard to stop. All right, folks. We love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye, bye, bye.